Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Playmore69, aka Michael, and this is the All in All Podcast, episode 7. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. In this podcast today, it'll basically be a solo topic, basically me sharing my thoughts about the Kyle Rittenhouse case and overall the verdict and what happened. So, if you've listened to the podcast, I think I talked about this back in episode 5. At least with kind of sharing my thoughts about the situation. This was still in the middle of the trial from what I remember. I don't know if the jury was deliberating yet. I don't even think they presented final arguments yet. But, even before the trial even started, all the way back to when this incident occurred back in August of 2020, I actually remember the day it occurred because I was actually up late doing college assignments, and I remember seeing the video. I think they first popped up on Twitter, but I saw them on Reddit to begin with, and at least from me watching the video, I thought it was self-defense. Now, that was from the very grainy videos I saw then. I knew when the actual trial happened, there would be a lot more evidence presented. So, at least from kind of building up to the trial, the media made it seem like, this was a murder case, not self-defense. And overall, that had me thinking about the videos I saw last year, back in August of 2020, that, okay, at least from the videos, it looks like self-defense, but maybe the media knows something I don't, which usually they do. I assume they do, for at least the headlines they put out or the news they report, and at least how they were presenting this case. That's kind of what it seemed like. And overall, when the trial started and it actually commenced, I was actually dumbfounded why there was even a trial. It didn't seem like the prosecution brought any new evidence whatsoever. I think that they brought higher quality drone video, but that was about it. I think all of the quote unquote like evidence or whatever they brought was all already in the public space at the time. These were cell phone videos, these were photos that have already been on the internet for over a year at this point. So I think that had a lot of people question of why this trial even commenced in the first place. But it ended up commencing, and I think the media ran with it too much, honestly. I don't know why it was covered so much. I think it takes away from the trial overall, especially when you think about the political implications it has. This trial was made so political that one side feels like they lost and the other side feels like they won, which shouldn't be the case with any jury verdict whatsoever. When you have a case in court, it shouldn't be political whatsoever, because when a case gets political, I think the first thing that goes is logic, because people only want to see things through their political lens, and they don't want to see things through, the facts of the situation. And that's ultimately what I was seeing from this trial, and really the response of the internet. It's like, if you were a conservative, then you thought Kyle Rittenhouse was a hero, and then if you were a liberal, then you thought he was a vigilante, white supremacist murderer, when I think it's more in between, which, at least my opinion, he's a dumb kid that went there. And I really want to talk about that too, is that, the whole reason this started is because of the riots, the BLM riots at night, and there were curfews set in place for people not to be in the streets at this time. Obviously they didn't follow that, and the rioters there were there. And Kyle went there as a 17-year-old, and I have heard a lot of arguments when it comes to Kyle and him being there, as, he shouldn't have been there in the first place, which, to that, I argue that, the rioters shouldn't be there in the first place either. No one had the right to be there. There was curfew set in place. And this happened at, I'm pretty sure, close to midnight. I think it was like 11:45 when the actual incident started happening, when I think Kyle fired the first shot at Joseph Rosenbaum. I think it was 11:45, which, to all the people out there that were saying they were protesters, they definitely were not protesting at night. I don't think protesting at night is even a smart thing to begin with, because, for one thing, it's night. And, I always go back to the saying is nothing good happens at night, because if you go out at night, it seems like you're just looking for trouble if you're walking the streets, especially if you're, even just there to protest. It does not seem like a smart decision to do so. And it definitely doesn't seem like a smart decision to even go to those riots, which Kyle did, which, there's a lot of debate. Did he go there with good intentions or not? I don't really know. I've thought about it, especially a lot through this trial, is did he go there with good intentions? Which I think is a really big question to ask when we actually kind of look back at the whole situation. And the best answer I can give is that if he was truly going there to provide medical care, clean up graffiti, and put out fires, he probably didn't need a rifle. He probably didn't need a gun, but yet he did bring one. I think it was more of a power dynamic that he kind of wanted. He wanted that power of the gun with him. Now, and especially in the videos too, is that, he had the gun, but I remember seeing him in one of the videos saying that, it's for the protection of property and stuff. And it's like, I don't know if that was the smartest thing to do, is bring a gun to protect, property like that. I mean, it's one of those things that's like, if someone is not like hurting someone else, like, I don't know if you could shoot them. But like, it's a very weird line we're walking, is that, there's rioters at night. Do you have the right to just start shooting them if they start destroying other people's property, even if that property isn't your own? Because, I think back, when this happened, is that he was protecting a car lot, and he was actually called there by one of his friends, from what I hear, to kind of protect this car lot. And that's kind of where this incident occurred. And then also it was near the gas station where he was putting out the fire. But, to go back to the question, was he going there with good intentions? Honestly, I think he was, but he was doing it in the dumbest way possible with carrying a gun. I don't think going there with good intentions and having a gun doesn't really constitute, because if you're truly going there to help people, I don't think you'll be thinking about yourself personally, even though that kind of sounds dumb to say. But if you are, a 17-year-old and you're going to a city and there's riots, and if you want to go there to help people, I think the last thing you would actually be thinking about is your own safety. Which, I don't know. That's something more I have to think about, because, I'm still thinking about it in my head, about the whole good intentions thing. I don't know if I'll ever be able to come to a straight conclusion on that, but I guess let's talk about the incidences of what actually happened. So I think if you follow the trial, you've probably seen the video over 100 times, or the videos over 100 times, like myself. I watched, the incident occur multiple times. I've seen it slowed down. I've seen it, in a little bit higher quality. I think it was, at least I've seen from, I think Reddit, it was that someone kind of remastered the video or touched it up to make it look a little better. And I've seen obviously the original as well, but, these are just certain videos that they kind of touched up. But going to the original videos, the original cell phone videos of the incident, the first one was Joseph Rosenbaum, which Joseph Rosenbaum was someone there who was starting fires, yelling obscenities, and also yelling at Kyle to shoot him. And if he got his hands on Kyle, that he would kill him. And he was literally saying this minutes before he started chasing Kyle, which, that to me is pretty open and shut case when it comes to self-defense. When you have that stuff occurred right before the actual incident, it's like, okay, I doubt the prosecution has any sort of case with that, even though they tried to make a case for it, which was just very stupid. But, going to that incident of, everything that leading up to it, then Joseph Rosenbaum chases Kyle, and he actually makes up a lot of ground on Kyle, at least from the video. And it makes sense because Kyle looks like he's actually carrying a lot because he has his medic bag and he also has, the AR-15. So Joseph Rosenbaum runs at him, catches up to him, close enough to grab his gun. Kyle turns around and shoots him, I think 4 times. And Joseph Rosenbaum is dead. Which, to me, seems pretty justified, at least from, just minutes before Joseph Rosenbaum was making threats to Kyle that he was going to kill him. And also him telling Kyle to shoot him, which seemed very odd. And also, he was there pretty violently, apparently. He was there also starting fires at the gas station that Kyle was trying to put out fires on or in. But that was the first shooting, and then immediately Kyle starts running to the police. And this is when, in the incident, it really starts getting quite interesting to me, because the first one looks very open and shut. It seemed to make a lot of sense. I think anyone could have seen that, and if that was an isolated incident, to me it just made a lot of sense. But when Kyle actually started running to the police, I don't know if the route he took was the best route, but it seemed to make sense in the videos that I've seen that you could actually see the police from a distance. And it made sense, but, this was at night, so the police lights probably were illuminating the darkness really well in the horizon. So they probably seemed a lot closer than they really were. And it seemed like that in the videos as well, because Kyle had to do a lot of running to the police. And in this is when the second and third victims of Kyle, if you even want to call them victims, that was a kind of a meme by the judge that you can't call the people that were shot victims, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But they were victims on some level. They were victims that, they got shot and died. Well, 2 of them died and 1 of them didn't, but it does seem quite odd. Anyways, he's running to the police, and this is when I think he gets hit in the back of the head, and then he falls down, and then the second assailant comes up, I think Anthony Hubert, and hits him in the head with a skateboard. I think he strikes Kyle twice, and Kyle shoots him once in the chest, and he's dead. And to a lot of people, at least from what a lot of people are saying, at least the people defending Anthony Hubert, was, well, it was only a skateboard. It's not like he was going to kill him. And that's actually funny, because a day before Kyle's verdict was announced, which was announced on the 19th, and the 18th of November 2021, someone in, I think it was LA, somewhere in California, got hit on the head with a skateboard and actually died. So that's quite ironic that literally like a day before the verdict, of Kyle Rittenhouse, someone actually got hit in the head with a skateboard and died. So, yeah, I mean, to me personally, if you have a weapon and you're going for someone's head, you're not looking to like disarm them in any way, because that was kind of like the argument there. You're looking to hurt and potentially kill them, you know? Even if Kyle didn't die from repeated swings from a skateboard to his head, he could have had brain damage, he could have lost, his eye. You really don't know in that situation. And to me, there's also the other argument of, Anthony Hubert could have thought that Kyle was a mass shooter, which to me at first sounded like a good argument. But then when I really thought about it, if Kyle was a true mass shooter, well, he was running and there was a mob of people behind him and around him while he was running. Why didn't he just turn and start shooting if he was a mass shooter, quote unquote? So to me, that also didn't really make any sense, is that there was people all around him. If he was a mass shooter, he would have just turned and started firing. He had many other shots in his AR-15. So at least with the Anthony Hubert argument, that was one of the ones that was obviously covered by the media a lot, because I know his girlfriend, or well, he's dead now, so former girlfriend, was in the media a lot telling her story. She was really pushing for Kyle to obviously be found guilty. I think she was also featured in the New York Times, the New York Post. I've seen many articles about her doing, these questions and all this stuff. And I think she showed up on the news right after the verdict was announced, basically saying that the criminal justice system is absolute shit. And, it's made for white people to get off, which, those are her beliefs. I think that if she was to look at the criminal justice system objectively and the laws we have in this country, maybe she would understand it more, but that's just her belief. And the third victim, or the third person that Kyle actually shot, to me was the most justified, and this was Gage Grosskreutz. So Gage goes up on Kyle. He aims the gun at Kyle's head, it seems in the video. I don't exactly know if it was Kyle's chest or head, but it seemed wherever he aimed it, it was at Kyle. And Kyle shoots him once in the bicep, and then obviously that he can't get a shot off because his bicep immediately curls and grips onto his gun. He can't even let go of his pistol. And that's when Kyle gets up and then runs to the police and makes it there. So that's the whole incident. And obviously from what everyone has seen about the incident, all the way back in August of 2020, we've all seen it. And at least looking at it in court with all of the other evidence and all of the angles the prosecution went at, I think that really the prosecution did a horrible job at it. I don't think that they were able to convince really anyone. And the reason I say that is that, at least when it comes to jury deliberation, I wouldn't put too much weight on the time or the amount of time that the jury deliberated. Personally, I think that the jury knew about the backlash that this trial would have, and if Kyle was found not guilty, there would be a lot of backlash. So I think what the jury kind of did is that, we're going to hold off a couple days and see if we can get a mistrial, which it actually almost got to that point, especially with the new evidence being inserted in. And this was evidence as a compressed video that was sent improperly to the defense that the prosecution had and was played for the jurors. So they had to get the original copy of that video to the jurors. So that could have easily been declared a mistrial, but it wasn't. There also could have been an easy declared mistrial by the judge if when the prosecution actually brought up, and this was Thomas Binger, for how horrible he was, bringing up Kyle was guilty because he didn't talk to the police immediately, which obviously that's the Fifth Amendment right that, every person has. If they get arrested, they don't immediately have to talk to the police. They have the right to remain silent. So that made no sense for me either. And he actually got yelled at by the judge, and rightfully so. Another interesting part of the trial I remember, which was pretty big, I remember it made headlines and I saw a lot of memes from it, was when Gage Grosskreutz, who was the one person shot by Kyle and actually survived because he was shot in the bicep, was called to the stands and was used as a witness, obviously. And he said, under oath, that he only got shot by Kyle when he aimed the gun at him. And I knew right there that the prosecution had nothing at that point. There was no way they were going to win, at least on that account that Kyle was charged with. Because if you aim a gun at someone, then, and they have a gun, will expect to be shot because obviously they're in immediate danger and they are using the right to self-defense accordingly. But I think beyond the trial and the actual result of it, I think the bigger picture here is the actual politics and the political game that was going on while the trial was happening. And this really stems from the fact that obviously one side feels like they won and one side feels like they lost. And I absolutely hate that this got political in the first place. And I hope in the future, when we do have cases like this or, trials like this where we can take politics out of it, I think the media was obviously really trying to run with it and really kind of started this snowball effect of pushing politics into it. Because I saw a lot of takes on, online when the trial verdict, happened, where I saw leftists or people on the left basically say that, the criminal justice system is only set up in America to help white people and it only helps white supremacists, obviously, and they're letting a white supremacist walk. While I saw a lot of conservatives online basically say the exact opposite, like this guy's a hero and our criminal justice system is the best. But I think the thing to look at is kind of looking at it more in the middle of, he was a dumb kid that did a dumb thing but got off. He's not a hero, but I don't think he's this white supremacist trying to kill people randomly, because everyone that he killed or shot was attacking him, and he only killed or shot white people. So, and that's another thing, is that race was very much a part of this trial in the overall case. Yet, Kyle never shot or killed a black person in the incident. It was only white people. So I really don't get that notion that he was this white supremacist trying to kill people at a riot and bring in a gun. To me, even if he is a white supremacist or he's not, we have no idea yet. I think more information is coming out about Kyle Rittenhouse every day, and I'm reserving that kind of judgment, for later, till I can make a more informed decision or an informed kind of thought on that. But I don't want to just say blanketly, oh, he is or he isn't. But to me, that fact really doesn't matter, because he was obviously being attacked, and anyone who could watched the video would probably agree with that. But the political biases that people had kind of blinded them from that fact. There was even people online saying that he did kill black people. I mean, these were also people in the media as well saying that Kyle Rittenhouse actually killed black people or shot black people. And, obviously that wasn't the case. And, I think that that's an interesting thing to think about, is that the political biases of one person or a group of people, whatever, could totally push you to the absolute false of what happened, the farthest from the truth. And I also think this kind of happened in the last big political trial, which was the Derek Chauvin case. And him obviously killing George Floyd, which really boosted BLM, Black Lives Matter, into relevancy in the media in 2020. And obviously that case was, to me, open and shut. Derek Chauvin obviously killed George Floyd. Made a lot of sense. I don't know why it got political. It seems like, the conservatives were on the side of the cops and the liberals were obviously on the rightful side of George Floyd and him dying. And to me, I just take the logical side. Obviously in that case, Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd unjustifiably, and he should be sent to prison. And I said that from the start, and that happened. And the same thing in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. I feel that I'm on the logical side of it was self-defense, and that's what happened in the trial. Kyle was found not guilty on all charges. And that's kind of the problem with these trials being political, is that, in the last trial, the last big political trial of the Derek Chauvin and George Floyd case, the conservatives feel like they lost and the liberals feel like they won. While in the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, it feels like the conservatives won and the liberals didn't. So it's almost becoming like a game in a way where, what we're trying to do is get justice for the case and the situation. We're trying to do the right thing. But now it just feels like a game in a way. It almost feels like another election. One side feels like they won, or one side does win and the other side doesn't, when we should be talking about the actual justice in the situation. Was it actually correct? Can we watch the trial unbiased, and look at it for what it is? But I guess getting to the actual verdict now is, I remember, obviously it being read off and seeing Kyle's reaction, and I have to say that I am happy for him. And I'm happy for the verdict, not because of one side won and one side lost. I'm happy because, I feel it was just. And obviously the 12 jurors thought it was just as well. So I guess after, seeing Kyle's reaction and stuff, the second time he got super emotional in court and, looks like he broke down a little bit. I don't think that, he was faking his reactions in any way. We have to remember that, he was 17 at the time of the incident, and he's 18 now. And I don't think he was faking his reactions in court. They looked completely genuine to me because, at least after him hearing that verdict, you have to remember that he just got his life back in a way. He would have been in prison for a life. So he wouldn't have had the rest of his life at all. And hearing that verdict gave him his life back. Now, I don't think his life will ever be the same, obviously, because from what I know, he is in counseling now. He has PTSD. He shot and killed 2 people, shot another one, didn't kill him. But, the killing of 2 people and being in those stressful situations are something that's going to weigh down on him probably, I wouldn't say forever, but at least for the foreseeable future. And that is something that, he's going to have to overcome. And I think another thing that he has to overcome is, just the public opinion, the people having an opinion around him, around what he did and why he did it. Because even though he won this trial legally, there's two battles you win. There's the battle in the court, and then there's the battle on the streets, which is the battle of public opinion, which I don't know if he'll be able to win that battle. Personally, I feel there will be a stark one side versus the other side on Kyle Rittenhouse probably forever. And sadly, he has to live with that. And I guess to go with the whole hero thing with one side, considering him a hero, I don't think that he considers himself a hero. And, obviously I don't know 100% certain what his political beliefs are, but I'm assuming he's conservative. But I don't think he identifies with what a lot of conservatives are saying, that he was a hero. I think that he thinks he did what he had to do in the situation he was in. And I think something else to be remembered from this trial is that it was about self-defense, and we all have to remember that no matter what political side that we are on. So obviously this case wasn't looked at by that, but that's what ultimately this case was about, was self-defense. But the political sides really took that to mean 2 different things. And also, for full disclosure, I have mentioned on the podcast before that I am a liberal, and, obviously I identify as a liberal. I wouldn't say I'm far left by any means. I would say I'm more of a classical liberal, centrist liberal type, but I'm not some sort of conservative that, sees Kyle Rittenhouse as a hero. I personally see him as a dumb kid that did a dumb act. But, I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I can acknowledge my political biases in this, because even before the trial, I was seeing a bunch of news articles about this, and, I found myself almost kind of buying into the narrative that he, killed these people unjustly. This wasn't self-defense, and he was some sort of white supremacist showing up with his group of white supremacists to a BLM riot or protest. And, I was buying into that narrative. I felt myself buying into it, but, I'm glad that when the trial actually came around, I watched it for what it is. I took it in. I looked at it objectively. I was able to put my political biases aside and see it for what it was. And, ultimately I came to the conclusion that, he's not some sort of hero, but he's also not some sort of vigilante just trying to go to a riot and shoot people. And I think most people have that opinion of Kyle Rittenhouse, that, he was just a dumb kid that did a dumb thing of going to the riot at night. So far, the takes online from what I've seen haven't been too bad. I immediately went on Twitter and Reddit when the verdict was announced, like most people did, and there wasn't too many bad takes from what I've seen. I think that most people kind of line up that way. And at least from a political sense as well, because I don't think everyone who looked at the trial put their political biases aside. But I also think that most people in the United States are quite moderate with their political beliefs. And I mean that by basically most people would probably line up around the centrist area. And I think that, when it comes to these radicals out here, whether they're the far right or the far left, that we have to realize that they're probably a much smaller minority of people. It's not as big as we think, because if it was bigger, then, we obviously are led to believe then, changes would be happening in that area. And obviously they aren't. So I think that most people seeing this trial, even under their political beliefs, whatever they might have, I think most people would be, moderate Republican or moderate Democrat. So just seeing this trial how it is, I think that for how moderate their political beliefs are, for them even not setting it aside, they can still see the case for what it is. Now, obviously, what does the trial verdict really mean in the grand scheme of things? This is one trial with one verdict, but obviously this is something that can be called back to in similar situations, as done in the American justice legal system. So basically, a lot of people have speculated that this could, in fact, basically promote people with guns who have a, different sort of belief than what people are protesting at any given time, basically giving them the green light in a way to go to these protests and, not obviously antagonize people, but if they were to be chased and if they were to be, attacked, then they could easily start, shooting and killing people. And that would be legal in a way. And to me, that is so nefarious, because you're going to a place with the intent of killing people, but you're basically going there hoping to provoke people to hurt you or attack you, so then you can get a, basically legal kill at that point. And to me, that's a very valid concern, because whichever way this trial went, that would have a lasting effect on future riots, especially BLM riots, because people with guns in the future can go to a BLM riot and, let's say a BLM rioter or protester or someone there could see, that person as a threat, or just see that person with a gun and instantly think, here comes the next Kyle Rittenhouse. He could just get provoked, someone could chase him, whatever, and then he could basically get a legal kill at that point. And I don't know if this trial verdict is necessarily promoting that. I think that if we just look at it for what it is, of self-defense, it makes sense that this was self-defense, and it was rightfully so ruled as Kyle Rittenhouse being not guilty. But on the flip side, there could be those people that are thinking, oh, well, if Kyle Rittenhouse got away with killing protesters or rioters that chased him and attacked him, then I can go to one of those riots and maybe I could get attacked or chased and I could kill people as well. So to me, I think it's quite interesting and, well, kind of sad in a way that, we kind of have to sit back and wait to see what this trial effect really has. Will people be more inclined to bring guns to riots and maybe antagonize people, or people, chase them or throw something or try to attack them, and they can be, legally shooting those people? And, really just my advice, and I think this is really just basic advice, is don't go to riots. I mean, that to me is very basic advice, but for some reason people don't follow, is don't go to riots. I don't think nothing good is going to come from riots. I think that the only thing that does come from riots is property being destroyed, people being hurt, yourself being hurt, or people potentially dying, not just from, gunshots or whatever, but I'm saying from like the destruction that happens at riots, the fires, the, anarchy of things. It's really just a not good situation to be in. And when it comes to protest, you should obviously protest during the day. And the reason I say that is that protesting at night is something that makes no sense to me, because nothing good happens at night. And if you are protesting at night, well, who's really seeing it at that point? The people that you're protesting for, probably are in their homes or whatever. It's not as many people are seeing it as night. And, I think that a lot of people have also heard the phrase of, the bad people come out at night, which I do agree with, because when you have a protest at night, I think that you should totally be prepared for people such as rioters to show up and be a part of that. But overall, those are my thoughts on the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, of what he did and the trial verdict as a whole. Do I think he's a dumb person? Yes. Do I think he should have been there? No. Do I think he should have brought a gun? No. But he was there. He did end up bringing a gun. He was a very dumb kid at the time. And the rioters there were dumb as well. And overall, the situation that happened. He got attacked. He does not seem like he provoked anyone that did attack him. And I think he was justified in self-defense that he showed on video with his gun. So I think that's about it from me for this episode. I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a bonus episode and get this one out. Obviously, I did a guest episode on dating with Jennifer, which was episode 6 of the All in All podcast. That one went an hour and 40 minutes. And this one in particular, I wanted to record, obviously, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial and at least my thoughts on it. So, those were my thoughts. I'd love to hear comments down below, whether you agree or disagree. I'm assuming a good majority of people are going to kind of had the same thoughts that I have, that he was dumb, but it was justified self-defense. But overall, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the All in All podcast. The normal episodes will come back on Friday, at least Friday evening or Saturday morning, depending on when I upload them every week. I hope to have more guests on the podcast as well. They've seemed to really be enjoyable for me to record, and also guests to come on the podcast and actually share their thoughts. And those conversations usually go on for, a lot longer than 40 to 50 minutes, which is normally what I tend to do solo. Those tend to go like an hour 30 or an hour 40, but those conversations are always fun. Anyways, that's enough rambling from me. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, see ya.